Hey Chris, how you doing? It's so good to have you today.
I can't complain. Thank you so much, Catherine, for having me on today. I'm excited. I really am.
Well, let's get right into the conversation. The way that I know Chris is he is a part of the trading community that I'm a part of. For those of you who have listened to me before, you know that I trade in the stock market, and so Chris is a part of that community. And he will have him tell us a little bit about when he came in. But one of the things that I noticed is that he just kind of he got in there and he just just shot up like a rocket as far as his trading intelligence, and now he's doing some things to help others. So Chris, can you just tell us a little bit about how you started trading?
Right. It's been an amazing journey. Let me just start off by saying that. So yeah, my trading journey started in really right during COVID, during quarantine. Obviously, things got shook up for everyone in the world. And I just found myself just literally just staring at my ceiling saying, what am I going to like? What's next for me? Right. And I had always had the investment bug, or interest always deep within me. But as I started to just, look on YouTube and just see commercials, you start seeing Robinhood and this and that. And this is, at the time, a lot of entrepreneurs are coming out saying, hey, I can teach you how to invest in the stock market. Right. So I actually joined a course originally to kind of start and pique my interest. And I actually had, I call it now just kind of beginner's luck. Right. But this is what kind of really started me saying I could do this, but I just needed more education. So where that kind of took off is when I my background is as a school teacher and a football coach, but I was a new hire at the particular school I was at. So in the middle of COVID, I kind of put two and two together. If they needed to make some budget cuts, the new hire would be first on the chopping board, right? So I immediately said, you know what, I need to bring in another form of income. So that's when I picked up a supplemental job with Amazon, delivering packages, right? Um, which is unreal, but I found myself listening to different podcasts. And on this podcast, this lady came on the podcast, and I was just like blown away by her intelligence, by her awareness of just financial literacy. And she started talking about how she teaches people how to make $1,000 a day or in a day. And I was just mind blown. Initially, I was like, no, that's not real. But her name was Terry Ijeoma, and I went on and just started doing more research, taking in information on her YouTube and just listening to different podcasts she had. And once I learned she had a course, I didn't blink twice. I purchased a course in June of 2020. And as you said, Catherine, I didn't blink twice. When I joined, I studied the curriculum. It was an 8-week course. So I actually took my live trade 2 months after me trading or after me starting the course. So in August, I took my first trade on Visa, and it was successful. And once I saw that what I had learned was working and was successful, that's all I needed to see. Right. I think I was in the middle of a workout. So once I closed the trade for profit, it was $75. And you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, I felt like Barack Obama, like I'm about to take over the world. But
Mm-hmm.
once I closed it out and I saw that this was possible, I finished my workout and came back home and started studying some more. And that's what just kind of propelled me into where I'm at now. Yeah,
So let's back up just a little bit, so we can just get to learn a little bit more about you. So you
for
said you
sure.
were a teacher and a coach. So how long had you been teaching prior to starting this?
Right. So I was in the classroom for about 7 years. But really what my life's calling was or is still, I'm still coaching, but just in a different light. But my life's calling, my vocation was like coaching football, just helping young men. I had coached on the collegiate level. I've coached several players that are in the NFL. I've been awarded state coach of the year in California. I've won national championships as a coach. So that was like that was my life's calling, like as a coach, helping mentor, helping develop young men and women, because I've also coached young ladies as well. So, yep, I spent 10 years or actually 11 years as a football coach.
Okay. And so one of the things that I ask on this podcast is because we are talking about financial literacy. And so just going back, thinking back about your past, what was the first financial education that you got, maybe from your parents? How were you dealing with your finances?
Right. So I just always remember as a youngster, I would always get gosh, it's slipping my mind now, but allowance on the weekends for your chores. And
Hmm.
so that's how you would pay for like things you wanted in the week, right? If you want lunch, you got to do some chores and get your allowance. So if you didn't have any chore money or allowance, you weren't eating that week. So it taught me, right, how to save. But I was also around my grandfather who he worked for Boeing and just was really, really into investing. So that's where like the investing bug just kind of stuck with me. I was always interested. So my grandfather on my mother's side, that's where I really started to learn about investing. But on my father's side, my grandfather would always watch CNBC. So when they would babysit me or when I would be over their house, I would always see the ticker symbols on the bottom of the TV. And I wouldn't have a clue of what they were watching, but just that knowledge of and seeing that always ingrained in your vision. And now here I am watching CNBC every day, knowing what they're talking about. It's like, okay, like everything really does happen for a reason. Mm-hmm.
It does. So it kind of came full circle for you.
Yeah.
So when you were seeing those tickers and knowing that your grandfathers were investing, like, did you have any sense of what it was? Was it, were they doing long-term stuff or you just, what was it that you understood at
Yeah.
that time?
I didn't understand anything, right? It just always grew an interest to me. I knew that one of my grandfathers did invest. He was more so a buy and hold long-term investor.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew it was possible. And I knew that was a means of income or passive income that you could bring in. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't know the how behind it. So it
Okay.
always was an interest to me. And I'd always, I started a Roth IRA when I was younger and things like, to set me up. But no,
Mm-hmm.
the knowledge that I have now, it was nowhere near. Mm-hmm.
Where you are
Yeah.
today. Okay.
Yep,
So then
exactly.
did you like I'm assuming you went to college. Did you ever get into like any financial challenges or struggles while in college? Did you fall into the, getting credit cards and that kind of thing?
You know what? I will say that I've definitely been blessed because my parents have always kind of backed every decision that I've made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of what I wanted to do with my career and my life. I did take a few sacrifices with student loans though to
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice a dream job that I had. So one thing, I'm a very persistent person. So I had a job opportunity to be a collegiate football coach,
Mm-hmm.
but the one speculation that was needed was that I needed to remain as a student. But I was literally, excuse me, when
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks prior to that, I was I had just received notification I was graduating. So
Okay.
here I was ready to walk across the stage. And now here I am. My dream job says, well, you can have this job, but you still have to be a student. So now I'm
Hmm.
in this bind of, okay, do I graduate from college or do I go back to school? So of course, I went back to school, took out student loans. I didn't sit in any classes because I had already
Yeah,
graduated.
you done.
I just needed quote unquote classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had took out a loan to have these or I think it was 3 classes at the time to be a student. So that was my one financial, just like, you know, shaking my head moment. Like, why did you take out a student loan to do this? But it was worth it. I would
It
say it
was
was
worth.
worth it. Yeah.
Good. Well, it sounds like you're successful. You said you have a lot of persistence. I see on your wall, I think it says execution. And
Yeah.
what else does it say?
This
Hustle.
yeah, hustle and grind. I wake up to that every day. Grind, hustle, and execute. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So then my guess is that you take that into your trading. So we're coming
Absolutely.
forward. The COVID happens. You say, okay, I got to get me, a part-time job to kind of bring money in. And so with the trading piece of it, you said you had kind of looked online, you had heard about Terry, similar to me. I heard about Terry on the Karen Hunter show. And I was like, whoa, when she was talking about being able to make money when the market goes up and down. I was like, okay. And then when she said you could put in a stop loss, I was like, okay, I'm joining. But it sounds like when you joined, you went ahead and paid for the full course right away.
Yep. that's just the type of person I am. Like I've learned that it takes a weird sense of like delusion for successful people. Like you just like this is gonna work for me. I'm gonna find out a way for this to work for me. And that's how I was. At the end of the day, if I'm not successful in this course, it's no one else's fault but my own.
Okay.
So that was my approach. Like, here's the course. I did my due diligence in terms of research. Like I believed what Terry had to say, not because of how much you can make in a day, but because she was so transparent with how much she had lost and how she can teach how to protect your losses as well. That's where I was like, okay, this is it.
Yeah,
Right.
that protecting your losses is a major thing because for
Yeah.
us, many times we're like, like you're like, I kind of know what's going on, but then I don't. I need to learn more, and we of course want to secure our losses and not, lose everything because you have.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this: when you started, did you tell your family and friends what you were doing, or were you just kind of doing it on your own?
Yeah. I told so I remember before I took Terry's course, the first trade that I took in my Robinhood account, I did an option on Nike, and I think I profited $400.
Wow. Okay.
Like I said, it was beginners. Like I had no idea what I was doing. But I want to say I called my mom and I said, I want to be a day trader. And she was like, what? Are you crazy? And I was like, because I'm just very, whenever I like just grasp to something on like, I'm big on energy. So I just felt the energy. Like I just knew I could be successful with it. So once I just felt like $400, what if I could get like $10,000? That just was just going through my head. So I called up my mom and I was like, yeah, this is what I wanted. She's like, where did this come from? But I just knew just something, my gut, my intuition just said, okay, you can be good at this. Right.
Okay. So then tell me, so you buy the course. And so tell me like kind of the steps that you went through. What did you do?
Right. So, man, it feels like it was just yesterday, but it was 2 years ago. But when I first purchased the course, like I said, I'm a very persistent person, type of
Mhm.
person. So when I purchased the course, I was very methodical in how I went through every detail, every nook and cranny. Um, and even still to this day, I'm still going through, which is really cool because I'm still learning. But I feel as though I really benefited from being on, it was quarantine at the time, right? So I treated the course as my Netflix and chill. I took
Mm.
sacrifices from my friends. Obviously, there weren't opportune times to hang out. So I did benefit from that. But every down piece of downtime that I had, I was watching the course, I was watching the curriculum. And like I said, I went through that thing forward and backwards multiple times and just really put what I was learning to practice.
Okay. And so tell us then, because you said after 2 months you made your live trade. What were you doing before? Were you just studying? Were you working in your simulated account? How was
Yeah.
that going for you?
So I was studying a lot, but I tell folks all the time, if there was a record for how much you could trade in your sim account, I probably broke it because I was like, this is how I'm going to learn. And I was crushing it in my sim. So I'm sending, my screenshots to my family, my friends, and they're like, dude, you're just playing video games. Because when I tell you I was killing it, I was just like $5,000, $10,000, $800, 100. Like it was insane. But I had a really good grasp on the strategy. And so that's when I just got pretty much tired of them making fun of me saying I was just playing video games. And I said, okay, I'm gonna show them, right? I'm gonna show them, but I didn't have a really big account. I only had $500 to start with.
Okay.
So, but I wanted to start with that much purposely because I wanted to show myself that I could build an account.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
so how long did it take? Like, where did you go from? Let's talk about you started at 5, and you went to what? And then how did you get there? What were the steps to get there?
man, so like, okay, so I built my account really, really fast because you got to understand, I had started the course in a really opportune time when the market had just crashed. So
Hmm.
everything had literally bottomed. Like one of my favorite stocks to trade when I first started was like AMD. Just to keep things in perspective, it was about $40 a share when I first started trading it. and it's probably at 120 right now.
Yeah, that's about right. Uh-huh.
You know, so I had caught the absolute bottom of the market. So to keep things in perspective, back then you could literally put $1 in the market and turn it into 20. So my account was growing really, really fast because based on the strategy, I was entering on levels that where we learned to enter, and my trades were just running. So I grew my account from about $500. Terry was actually on gosh, what's the app? Clubhouse. And I wanted to share my story, how much I grew my account. I grew it to $25,000 in like 8 months.
Wow.
And I got on this, she brought me on the stage and she said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." And honestly, I didn't realize I had that much in my account because I had so much tunnel vision of just executing. And then once I realized I was really good at a strategy, that's all I was doing. I was really just selling credit spreads on the whole market 3 days a week and just bringing in on average, about $1,500 a week.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's amazing. In 8 months, getting that high. And so you said you were just really executing. So Terry teaches several strategies. If you guys want to get in the course, you need to pay for the course. So we're not going to talk about all of that, but were you doing, like, did you start with like one strategy and then go to the other? How did you do that?
Right. So since I had such a small account, I actually just started just buying the underlying stock with shares. So like I said, my first trade was Visa, right? That netted me $75. And I was primarily trading about in and out of 4 or 5 different stocks when I first started. So that was like Visa, AMD, Apple, Beyond Meat, and there was one more. Visa, AMD, Apple, Beyond Meat. I can't think of the other, but those were the core stocks that I would trade in and out of. And I was just trading the underlying stock. So once I grew my account to about like $2,500, that's when I said, okay, I'm ready to start trading options because you can bring in more profit once you start trading options, right? Because you have leverage to more shares. So that was pretty much my trajectory.
Okay. All right. So you go from the underlying stock, you go to trading options. Terry hears
Right.
how quickly you grew your account. And so now you are actually a coach in the trade and travel family. So how did all of that happen?
Right. So again, this has been an amazing journey. So of course, with my success, folks would like reach out and say, "Hey, I want help. Can you help?" And I had to I was like, I want to do my own course. Like, I feel as though people need to know about this. I'm killing it, making money. I'm gonna teach a course. And then Terry reaches out. She's like, "What course are you gonna teach?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna teach your course. I would never do that." Right. I just really felt a strong conviction in my heart that people needed to know that you can invest in the market and really make money and just pay for things that you want in life. So that conversation turned from, well, if you want to help people, Chris, how about you start helping teach on, during the week for the coaching calls. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do that. I just want to help. Like, I don't know if I really want to build a course. That's just a thought. And I'm gonna just put it out there to see if I can make it happen. Right. And so we agreed that I would start helping to teach. And once that had really took off, folks started to reach out to me for one-on-one help. And then that's when I reached out to Terry saying, "Hey, my inbox, my emails, my social media is like just going crazy for one-on-one help. What do you think about this idea?" She's like, "Well, I think it'd be cool if you're a coach. You're already a coach, coming off of football. Like, that's just my life's practice. I have a really good sense of helping bring the best out of other people and finding where they can do better in terms of, their strategy, football, just strategy and building a game. So it was kind of seamless transition from football to helping teach invest. I really, really hung my hat on learning Terry's strategy. Even though I'm still learning, I know it pretty well. I know what to look for. I pride myself on when I come to a chart and I look at a chart, I like to ask myself, what would Terry do? right?
Mm.
So that's what brought a lot of my consistency, and I try to propel that to other folks now that I meet with.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give myself a little shameless plug. One of the things as I was, just in the trainings and in the chats with people, just there's a language, right, that we just speak to one another. And one of the most important things, whether you're on the base level or whether you're in VIP, is you have to know how to chart. And so that's what my shirt says, the ABCs of charting, the
Great
ABCs of
shirt, by the way.
trading.
Great shirt.
Always, thank you, always be charting. And so I did this, I came up with a couple of little other things just to remind myself of like what, I needed to be doing. And charting, like, even though I've been doing this for a little while, I was never able to kind of jump head in. Like when COVID was happening for everybody, by trade, I'm in the mortgage industry. Our industry blew up. So I was, super busy. I would like love to have been able to just focus. But so I've kind of gone like the scenic route, little bit by little bit,
Right.
trying to get there. But so let's talk a little bit about, so COVID happens, you're working at Amazon, you're trading, you've now grown your account, to $25,000. So did like after COVID or after things start easing up, did you go back to work? Like what happened with that?
Right. So, well, let's back up a step, because
Okay.
when I first purchased a course, I actually had quit Amazon. So once I got a hand of Terry's course, and I had just listened to like the introductory message that she had, and in the first, I think, module, and I was like, oh my God, this is gold. So I had just slept overnight, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to work for Amazon, because Amazon's going to take away the hours that I could be, studying this course.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Miss Gina. I said, Miss Gina, thank you so much, but I'd rather invest for Amazon than work for Amazon. And she was like, effective when? I said, immediately.
Wow,
Yep.
wow.
Yep.
So you
So, and
really did have conviction.
I did. I did. Yep. I really
Okay.
did.
So you quit Amazon,
I
you
quit
jumped
Amazon.
in. Mm-hmm.
So I quit Amazon, and then that's when my trajectory started with taking the course. And um I was still a school teacher though, right? And football coach. So I was still, doing all of that, but I was still having success with trading, because now at this point I'm trading live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but things just started to accelerate. I was still building my account, things were working out well, and I decided to take the leap of faith and just walk away from teaching. And
Wow.
that was scary. That
Yeah.
that that was very scary. At this point, this is when I made the decision to come on and help with Terry as a coach, right? And it just all of this was just happening super fast, and I really couldn't explain it. But that's why I really started to like lean on God and started praying. Like, it wasn't my place to understand it, right?
Mm.
All of these things were happening for a better purpose, and this was the new path that God was putting me on. And so who am I to fight that? So I said, you know what? I walked into the principal's office, just like I told Miss Gina. I said, I'm not teaching this year. And he's a new hire principal. So he's like, what? I say, yeah, I've kind of found this new path for my life, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I think I'm going to be very successful. And it's crazy because they're like, well, if that doesn't work out for you, it's not going to be easy for you to come back. And, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, I don't plan on it not working, but okay, thanks for that. But I stopped as a teacher, stopped as Amazon, but I was still coaching, because that's like my life calling.
Okay.
I couldn't let that go. So trading is transpiring. I'm teaching for Terry and doing one-on-ones. I'm getting more successful. I'm a very focused type of person. So in the midst of me coaching football, coaching how to invest, one of these has to suffer. And so I started to see that coaching football was suffering, because I was so passionate about having the privilege to meet with folks literally around the world that are in trade and travel, and getting the opportunity to change their lives. Like, that's powerful, and I don't take it lightly. So because I was successful with doing that in my own trading, I said, I think I want to stop coaching football. And so when I called and told my dad that, that was like, whoa, like that was an earthquake out here in LA, right? Because anyone that knows me, I've dedicated my full life to coaching. I've gone to different symposiums. Like I said, I'm a very accomplished coach. So that was hard for me to walk away from as well. But I walked away from coaching in December. So
Okay,
now
December of 2021.
2021. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So you kind of what you did do though, as I'm listening to you, you didn't just give everything, you just didn't stop everything.
Right, right.
You kind of gradually did it, all of them big decisions though. And I just applaud your tenacity and you going for it. I mean, just really having the courage to go for it.
Right.
That's a big step. And so just thinking about like trading and thinking about like what your process is, like what was your process while you were still coaching and teaching, as far as like, I get up, I do XYZ. Is that the same as it is now, or how was it different?
Ooh, it's a lot different. I've grown so much since then, but also the market has changed also. So when I was teaching and coaching, I was primarily selling credit spreads,
Okay.
um, because it's more so I didn't have the time of day to really follow, a bucket of companies. It was really that this was the one strategy I'm gonna focus on because I was teaching, because I was being a football coach, because I was helping Terry, you know, within the given week. I was juggling so many things, so I just needed to focus on one strategy. And when that opportunity presents itself, I'll trade it. So that's what I would do. It would be really about I would trade every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and my trade would actually be positioned into the at the latest 8:15 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't get an alert, then that would tell me my trade was profitable. And I would say probably 8 out of 10 times I was profitable with my strategy of selling credit spreads. Yep. But now I'm very much so methodical. I have a my watch list. I have 20 companies that I watch. Right now, I'm only probably trading really two companies, Amazon and Boeing. Um, but I've grown so much to know that I don't need to stare at the computer screen all day, every day to be profitable. So because I'm on the West Coast, my day starts at 4 in the morning. I wake up at 4 in the morning every day just to get a workout in. So I'll work out at 5 in the morning. That takes me all the way to about 5:45. That gets like the adrenaline rush out of the way for me. So I don't,
Okay.
when I come to the desktop, I don't feel like I have to get into a trade because I'm like in a calm, mood. Like once I get back home, I do a little meditating. I look at the pre-market movement and now I'm ready to rock and roll. After the first 2 hours, if I haven't positioned into a trade or if I'm not already into a trade, I will literally take a nap. I would
Okay.
take a
Okay.
nap. Even if I take a trade, I'll take a nap because that just gives the anxiety away from me. I've already put in my risk management. I don't need to stare at the screen. One really good quote that I saw was, "What's the point of having all your freedom if you're still staring at the computer screen 8 hours a day?"
Oh, you preaching to me, right?
Right.
You are preaching to me because I do have a full-time job. And so I find myself like, okay, I got to look, and my biggest thing is holding on too long. I don't know
Mm,
what it is about that, where if it goes wrong, I have committed the sin, you guys. If those of you who are in Terry's course, like moving my stop, like, no, it's gonna turn around, it's gonna turn around. And then I wait so long, and then I'm thinking, like, what was wrong with that $500? Why wasn't
right.
that enough? So that is the thing that I'm struggling with trying to get over. So tell me about your, if you can share, tell
Yeah.
me about your biggest win and your
Yeah.
biggest loss.
Ooh, I've had both of them within a month time span.
Okay.
So I shared it with the group. Let's talk about my biggest win. No, let's do my biggest loss because I
Okay.
think I think we learn more from our losses than our wins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I feel as though a lot of my trading journey kind of like mimics a lot of my mentors. So whether that's
Hmm.
Terry or some of my older mentors that are in my frat, I'm in a fraternity as well. but my journey mimics theirs. So my biggest loss is $27,000
In your live account?
in my live account.
Whew.
Yep.
Okay,
And
look, let's breathe.
right.
Okay, all right.
And to tell you the truth, I wasn't mad because it fit my trading plan. Um, the chart said it was a good reward to risk type of trade. The one thing that I had, the one big learning curve that I'm learning now is that managing a bigger account, it takes a lot more um, mental just toughness and
Okay.
and just conviction on your trade, right? And that was a big learning curve for me because at that point in time, my mindset hadn't caught up to my account size. And
Okay.
so, yep. And so a lot of people think that, oh, this is just technical analysis, follow the chart and use all these indicators, but it's that could be the furthest thing from the truth. I really do feel as though this has a lot, or trading or investing for that matter, is very much so a psychological like warfare, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not in tune with your trading plan, if you're not in tune with what your exit or your entry and your exit strategy is, you're going to find yourself losing a lot or being just down and negative on yourself more often than not. So I remember when I had that loss, I called my mom. I was like, "Oh my God, I just lost a car." like you lost your car. I said, "No, I lost a car. I just lost $27,000." And I wasn't really upset because how I think about things is I have this skill set to make money back.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I went to my whiteboard and I said, okay, I had this loss. How can I like to break it down into bite-sized pieces. So I
Mhm.
went to my whiteboard and I said, I just need 6 trades with $5,000 worth of profit. And so once I did, like, because that wasn't hard for me to do. It was once I started scaling up, that was hard. It took me a while to adjust to scaling up. But the
Okay.
$5,000 trades, those weren't hard because I had been doing it, leading up to that point. So I went back to the drawing board and just said, hey, this is your goal. You need 6 trades, $5,000 profit. And I made it back in 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Well,
Right.
look, I'm taking in like I'm using this as coaching for me because
Right.
I had the best day that I had in my live account. And within a week, I had lost like double. And
Right.
I'm like, what? And so I'm licking my wounds
Mhm.
and I'm mad. And so I like that you said that you shared it with your mom. So,
Yeah.
like when you've had losses in the past or whatever, is that what you do? Do you share it or how do you process that? Because for me, I'm like, oh, and it's hard to like, you're thinking, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And oh, I was so this or that. How do you process
Right.
and get yourself back, just
Right.
that breaking it down?
Yeah. Breaking it down. Actually, after that loss, I took my family out for brunch. Because here's the thing, I don't want to be handcuffed to trading. Like trading
Okay.
does not own me.
Okay.
Right. So I'm okay with walking away saying I had a bad day at the office because again, I have the skill set to make it back. But
Yeah.
one thing that really does help give me an edge is journaling. So I
Okay.
journal every single thing about my process.
Okay.
I like to journal before I enter the trade. So my everything is planned. And this is where my football coaching background helps. It's kind of like when you're preparing the team for a game, you're building that game plan.
Right.
And then that Friday night or Saturday night, or when you enter that trade, now you just have to execute that game plan. So what I'll do is at the end of every month, I'll go through my journal and read through what my thought process was or what my process was in entering and exiting trades. I'll read through what they were. And
Okay.
I'll start to find a lot of commonalities in terms of what I'm really good at or what I need to work on. So
Okay.
that'll be the focus point. If I need to work on something, that'll be the focus point for the next month. Or if I was really good at doing something the previous month, I'll just continue rinsing, washing, and repeating that system over and over again. So it's just kind of like just keeping track of really what you're doing on a day in and day out basis. So I treat my watch list like they're my employees and I'm the CEO. And
Okay.
my watch list is my business, right? So if I don't know what's going in and out of my business, then how can I be successful CEO?
Wow. And so I know you said that you're mainly trading Amazon and Boeing.
Mhm.
Did you just choose those? Like what made you choose those two?
Right. So Boeing was actually my best trade to date.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah, I made $33,000 in a series of 3 trades on Boeing. And one day I had a $21,000 win.
Wow.
So, yep. And it just, I really got a chance to know the stock really well. And I just had really strong conviction, where to enter, where to exit, how long to hold it. And I was in a groove. And so since that moment, I've literally just been trading that stock because I know exactly where it's going.
So let me ask you, I have tons of questions, but we don't have that kind of time. But let me ask you this. So when you're in Boeing, you're doing Amazon, you know what those, you know how those trades are going to act.
Right.
And so when you talk about scaling up,
Mhm.
what has been the biggest transition for you when
The
you're
mindset.
the
Definitely the
mindset?
mindset. Yep.
Okay.
Because the numbers are different, right? No longer are you looking at a $75 profit, right?
Hmm.
Potentially are looking at a $30,000 win or a $27,000 loss. So just the mindset of being able to manage the ebbs and flows of being up one day, down the next day, not closing the trade too early, having conviction on your chart, and just trusting that it's going to go in your favor. Um, 2 weeks ago, I was in Amazon where I was down the entire time until the trade started finally going in the direction that the chart said it was supposed to do. It finally started doing. But had I sold early, because I am down in the trade and losing confidence, I would have given up on the trade and lost sold with a loss.
So then I know, and for those, there are so many people I'm sure that are listening to this who are like, what in the world are they are they talking about? And so if this is something that you want to try, one of the things that you've heard Chris say is he took a course initially and then he got even more education. So this is not something we're saying go out willy-nilly. Chris
Right.
made some very calculated decisions for him to get to where he is now. And so when can you just tell really quickly the difference between a day trade and a swing trade? And then how has it changed for you being able to day trade?
Right. So the difference between a day trade and a swing trade is, one, for your day trade, it's merely saying that if the market opens tomorrow morning and I enter into a position, so let's say I buy one share of Apple tomorrow and I close it in that same day, that would be considered a day trade, right? A swing trade would be if I bought that same share of Apple on Monday and sold it, whether that be on Wednesday or Friday. The swing trade is saying you held it over multiple days before you close that position. So that would be the difference. A day trade, you're opening and closing in the same trading session. A swing trade would be you're holding that, you're opening a trade and you're holding it over a series of days.
And so I know that the way most accounts work, at least how I understand them, is that you have to have a certain balance in your account. So like I could do up to like 3 day trades in the platform that we use.
Right.
But then when you have a certain balance, you can do day trades as much as you want, as long as you keep that balance. So how has that changed your trading, or has it changed it at all?
It's changed a bit more. I will say it's a lot. There's a lot more opportunities because you're not handcuffed to only trading 3 days per 5 day trading period. But my trading style, I'm naturally a swing trader.
Okay.
I don't go seeking out day trades. Like if the chart tells me it's an opportunity, then yeah, I'll go in the trade. But I'm not going out like a heat seeking missile, trying to make money in the market. I'm very patient. I will literally. There's been times where I haven't traded for more than 3 weeks, and
Wow.
and and finally the last week of the month, I'm able to enter into position, but I still hit a weekly or a monthly goal.
Okay, so when you say you're patient, that means unlike somebody me, who is like, oh, I got to get it now or whatever. You patiently wait for it to get to where you know that there's going to be some profit.
Right. Because at the end of the day, I feel as though we all step into this world of trading because we have the power of we're making the decision.
Mm-hmm.
right? So I really own that thought that I make the decision on when I want to buy, certain stock. This is where I want to buy this price, and this is what I value it based on the chart. So I'll sit here and I'll wait.
You'll wait for it.
Mhm.
Okay. And so how has this changed your life?
Well, I'm starting to travel a lot more.
Okay.
I'm spending a lot more time with my family, which is what I really enjoy. And,
Mhm.
and that's what brings me joy. It's like when I was, teaching and coaching, although I loved it, I would hardly be able to spend time with my family because I'm always working, 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 working. When my friends would travel, in the summer months or in the middle of the year, that's football season. So I would miss out on that. So
Okay.
just, I have a few really cool trips lined up, over the next several months. I'm really looking forward to that and just honestly spending time with family.
Wonderful. So then the last question that I'm going to ask, because this is about affirmations too,
Mhm.
and you obviously know how to coach people. You know how to be persistent. So what would you say to anyone who's trying to make the decision to even take a course? Like,
Right.
how would you affirm them?
My biggest thing, or my most favorite quote that really got me through Terry's course or through any challenge for that matter is a quote by Confucius, and it states, "He who says he can and he who says he cannot are both usually right." So it all boils down to a mindset. If you believe that you can actually achieve something, then your subconscious mind is going to figure out a way for you to get that done, right? But if you are very negative and you say, "Oh, this is hard, I can't figure it out," then yeah, you'll figure out ways for it to be hard, or you'll
Okay.
figure out ways to be busy or not get it done. So the subconscious mind and just the mindset in general are very, very powerful. But I would just say it starts with having belief in yourself. So if you say you can achieve something, you're going to figure out a way to get that done.
Well, Chris, Calvin, it has been such a pleasure to have you on Finance and Affirmations today. I really appreciate your time.
Awesome. I appreciate being here. I really had fun. I enjoyed myself.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine.